Hi everyone. I'm just waiting to connect with Leah. If you can just give me a minute. I lost her there. Ah, there you are.
Hey, Judith, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, and you?
Good, good.
For a second there, I thought you declined, and I was like, uh-oh.
No, I had connecting problems, but then I've got my wonderful daughter who just hooked me up, my personal IT. So here I am with you and the YzeUp.Africa guests.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for everybody who's come in. I'm doing waves as they're coming through. I hope the sound is clear. And I am just looking forward to having a fun conversation with Leah about how to grow in your career whilst maintaining your true self. So let me first introduce our guest. So she is our first guest in the Learn from Her Experience series that we're going to be running in the month of August. Obviously, it's focused a lot on women because, this is Women's Month. But Leah is a certified John Maxwell coach as well as speaker. She's a professional with more than 20 years of experience, and I know her from this. So we'll have these discussions on how I actually got to know Leah. Um, and this experience spans obviously on the African continent and the Middle East. She has worked with multinational institutions, and this is where, in some spaces that I've actually worked with her, such as BP, Zambia, and South Africa, Barclays, South Africa, L'Oreal, South Africa, Standard Bank, South Africa, Bank ABC, and I hope that's how you pronounce it, Noor Bank, yeah,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
in
that's
in in
correct.
Dubai.
Yeah.
So we are essentially talking to somebody who's got experience in the workplace, who has who
Long.
long experience in the workplace, who has gone through all those corridors in the corporate what do we call them? Yeah, the corridors, and has really, I think, climbed up. And some of us have seen this growth. And I just thought, what an awesome way to share. And I'll explain again why I actually thought you were the perfect person for this topic. So,
Wow,
yeah,
thank you.
welcome, Leah.
Thank you so much to you and the Wise Up Africa platform. I love what you're doing. I love how you're empowering
Thank
and
you.
supporting women and just
Thank
sharing
you.
knowledge as well and giving us the opportunity to do so. And
Yeah,
hi to everybody that's joined the conversation.
yeah. So everybody else, I've got a few questions for Leah, but should you also have some questions I can kind of see on the screen, please feel free to, ask us questions, and we will try to, answer it. So I think, Leah, the beginning is take us through the journey. So where did you start, man? I mean, you've got 20 plus years of experience. Where did it all start?
I think it's all started through, well, I graduated from Golden Gate University, first of all, in San Francisco.
Okay.
And after
Okay.
graduation, my parents were living in Zimbabwe at the time. And
Okay.
I decided to work with my father. He had a company called Greenleaf, and they
Okay.
had the franchise for Tanganda tea. And Tanganda tea is
Okay.
a beautiful homegrown tea from Zimbabwe. And
Okay.
so my first project, as it were, was a go-to-market strategy to
Yeah.
basically launch Tanganda tea into Zambia. And I
Okay.
think the key success there is that ShopRite was opening in Zambia for the first time, and I was able to negotiate with them and get Tanganda tea sold in them. And two
Wow.
years later, Tanganda tea was in 15 supermarkets, ShopRite supermarkets around the country, and in
Wow.
other local Zambia supermarkets. So it was a great way to launch myself into working back home after being away for so long.
Sure.
Thereafter, I got the opportunity, like you mentioned, to work for BP Zambia. The role I basically got was to be the non-fuel income manager. Basically, what
Okay.
that means is that they were getting revenue from fuel anyway. So they wanted somebody to come in, be creative, think out of the box, and try and find other avenues of generating revenue. And so I
Yeah.
think a key highlight there, after being there for like a good 4 years, I was able to launch the first BP Express shops in Zambia, and worked a lot with the banks to try and get them to actually put their ATMs onto the forecourts of BP. And with that
Wow.
additional revenue generation, I was able to increase the retail bottom line by an additional 21%. And then as a result of that, that's how I was promoted to BP Cape Town. And so my family and I relocated to Cape Town at the time.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
soon, and then I became the regional sales promotion manager in BP Cape Town. I think for me, what was exciting about that is that this was the first time I was actually able to lead a team in multiple markets on the
Yeah.
continent. So that was extremely
Yeah.
exciting, and that was a growth
Yeah.
opportunity for me. Still concentrating on the added value of express shops, 400 car washes in South Africa, etc. So thereafter, I got an opportunity to work for Barclays in Johannesburg. So my family and I relocated again to Johannesburg,
Wow.
and where I
Wow.
became a regional marketing manager working for Barclays. I think key highlights for me was understanding this big global brand we call Barclays, and understanding what
Sure.
their brand stood for, what their voice is, and making sure that it was consistent in all the markets that we operated in, but at the same time ensuring that we still captured the uniqueness of each African country and allowed them to also connect with our target audience in their unique way, even though Barclays was still the brand we were representing. And also the
Sure.
opportunity, just like yourself, Judith, working with global agencies. That was my first time to really work with some global sponsorships, digital PR agencies. So at
Yeah.
least that then
Yeah.
enriched my career at the time. Then I
Sure.
got to work at L'Oreal, and I became the brand manager for Garnier Skin Naturals. And it
Okay.
was FMCG is exciting because marketing is finally at the center of the universe. So you're in the middle, and you're just managing this orchestra of 360-degree different tasks, from
Sure.
focus groups, from choosing the models, choosing the packaging, the pricing, working directly with Paris, the Research and Development Center, PR launches, and dealing a lot with the South African supermarkets who carried our product. It was a pressure cooker. And even
Sure.
though it got overwhelming at times, it was a great way for me to actually learn how to work in a pressure cooker and actually,
Sure.
stabilize myself and just ride that wave of madness. But it was a great
Sure.
environment. And I think under my umbrella, I managed over 100 individual products under the Garnier Skin Natural
Wow.
umbrella.
That's a
Thereafter, I
lot.
then became a regional resource again at Standard Bank, working in group marketing there in Simmons Street, Johannesburg. And I was working, really focusing on the advertising and media and leveraging our budgets to make sure that we have the correct marketing mix, etc. But a key highlight for me was really being part of the merger and acquisition teams, from a
Sure.
marketing, events, and communication point of view. During the
Sure.
merger of IBTC in Nigeria as well as CFC in Kenya, and actually being on the ground and working
Yeah.
with the customers, the staff, the stakeholders at different levels, and making sure that happened. And then was privileged enough, quite frankly, to become the head of marketing corporate communications for Bank ABC. And for those of you who don't know, Bank ABC is actually a Zimbabwean born bank. The CEO was the founder, and it was an investment bank. But when I was hired, they made the shift from being an investment bank, going now into a universal retail bank. And they wanted someone
Sure.
to basically manage and develop the marketing and communications department, which I did. And it was exciting because then you're putting the procedures, the policies, the strategies together, and also getting the right people in the right places in the different 6 markets we were in Southern Africa.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience still to bring consistency to the brand and to grow the brand within Mozambique, Botswana, Tanzania. Who else do we have? Zambia, Zimbabwe, and I hope I
Zambia.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I didn't miss anybody out. And then I think 4.5 years in, then we were acquired by Atlas Mara. And I was also got the opportunity to work with the two co-founders of Atlas Mara. And because I had the skills of working in mergers and acquisitions from Standard Bank, I was able to understand what was required during this acquisition of Atlas Mara of Bank ABC, and ensuring that people understood that they were trying to come in to make sure that they added capital, innovation and technology into the current pool of what Bank ABC had, and to enhance the value proposition to the customers in the different countries. And I think my last task there was to come up with the Bank ABC part of Atlas Mara logo that you see today.
Oh, wow.
Then my husband actually had the idea of like, you know what, I think we have one more city in us. Would you like to move to Dubai? And I'm like, you know what, let's go for it. So then as a family, we relocated to Dubai. And as you mentioned, I have been privileged to become the VP of Marketing and Corporate Communications for Noor Bank, which is a local Islamic bank. And they were also going through quite a aggressive transformation of becoming a more contemporary Sharia compliant bank. I think what was so interesting for me is because throughout my career, I had always led and been led by Africans.
Yeah.
And I finally come to Noor Bank in Dubai, and I'm the only African in the team. And then in the entire organization, there's only 3 Africans, and we're all in separate buildings anyway. So it was a great opportunity for me to learn and embrace these new cultures that I was actually now having to lead. So it was Emiratis, people from Pakistan, India, Australians. So it was a matter of me actually truly understanding what it means to lead a diverse team and work and be led by diverse people. So quite frankly, I've had, and I continue to have, a great career, but I couldn't have done it without the amazing leaders that challenged me, stretched me, and made me, you know, understand it's okay to be confrontational and basically own your voice, use your voice. And also, I was able to achieve what I achieved because I had amazing teams that I led, but more importantly, I learned from them. And that's why that's who I credit my career to.
Sure. Okay, so that's the 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years and counting. We're not quite done.
Of different and counting, of different corridors, different countries, different cities. You mentioned you're a mom. How many children?
2 children, a son who's
2
21
children.
and a daughter who's 17, and they inspire me and lead me constantly, and I learn from them all the time.
Wow. So I mean that's levels, because now you've got family that is moving, as you're saying, from, you know, different countries, different cities and different spaces. And now you've got Leah, who has to be in the workplace. And I think you've taken on a lot of leadership roles, which is really going to help in the conversations, because you can understand it from top bottom as well as bottom top.
Absolutely.
I think there's a pressure in the world sometimes where we lose ourselves in the workplace. So I mean, I can attest to a whole lot of that, you know, starting from the bottom, working your way up, as you're saying, working with multiple teams, working with different people, working with different cultures and all of that. And I think that's one of the things that we are not taught in school. I think we are taught when you go to varsity or school, when you're studying and everything, it's always, you know, the books and what you need to go do in the workplace. But when it comes to who I am,
and the softer skills,
the softer skills in these spaces, how do I navigate those? In your opinion, what does bringing your whole self in the workplace actually mean to you? When we talk about this, bringing ourselves into the workplace, what does that mean?
Right. Oh, what a great question. I think I'll tackle it in 2 ways. I think number one, bringing your whole self to the workplace. I think as leaders, first and foremost, I think we have to start seeing people within our teams not just as their position and their title. We have to start seeing the whole person as much as possible. And I, especially if I remember my teams from Bank ABC as well as Noor Bank, it was extremely important for me to schedule one-on-one times with them, not only just to go through the tasks of the day, but also to have the opportunity to get to know them at a deeper professional level,
Sure.
and understand what drives them, what is their passion, why do they choose this particular job, this particular sector, are they married, do they have kids, are they in a relationship, maybe they run marathons on the weekend, they enjoy traveling, they enjoy food. Just finding any way to connect at a human level and understand how they're motivated and how I can motivate them within this role. Because the reality is, Judith, our personal lives come into our work lives.
Absolutely.
And when that personal pressure comes in, all of a sudden, if you don't have that open relationship with your boss where you can have feel comfortable in order to talk to them, how do you then deal with that pressure? So so as leaders, if you open and allow your team to share who they are at a deeper level, then when that reality comes in and that pressure comes in, you can then reassign some of the tasks. You can help them actually navigate this particular time in order for them to stop drowning and manage and balance their personal life as well as their work life. On the other side as well, I think that no matter who you are, as long as you're in a current role, someone has recognized value within you. And they've recognized the value that you can bring within the workplace. And you've also made the commitment to be in that particular organization. And so if you've done that, you need to give your whole self. You need to show up. You need to be present. And I know for some people, the reality is some people are living their best lives. They're in their ideal job. They have worked for the job they're currently in. And like, you know what? This is what all the stress was about. But on the other side, there's some people who are in current roles that's not really their ideal role, but they just need to pay the bills, which is a reality.
Need a job,
but as long as you're but as long as you're in that role and you made the commitment to do so, show up. Bring your whole self to the organization. So as leaders, make the effort to try and understand what motivates the whole person within your team. And as part of the team, as the individual who's made the commitment to be within that organization and you're being paid for it, make the effort to show up with your whole self to make to add value to that organization and that team.
So I think I mean you've touched on it. It's dual, right? It's a duality that's going on. It's between the leader as well as the team member. But I've also had the pleasure of working with a lot of young people, and I think I started off my career as that young person who, millennial then, the problem child then, she's come out of varsity and she wants to take over the world kind of space. And I've had experiences where I've also had amazing leaders and who have noticed Judith and have literally grown her. But I've also had horrible bosses, like those managers that really know how to just push you down, like no matter how many times you're trying to climb up, they perceive you in a way that has, nothing to do with you. And it's messing with your psyche. And you start questioning yourself that, is this really who I am? Or is this thing that this person is actually trying? So I think there's a lot of toxic situations that are happening in this space where not all leaders are like you, where you literally take time to understand the personal space of this person that's working in your team. What would your advice be to somebody who is in that situation? Because I think that's what's going on with a lot of young people for me in this time is they come in, they show up, they're doing their thing, but their leaders are not like you. They are not taking their time to understand who they are and whether they like running or what their workspace, what their home situation is. All they care about is this is a workplace and, this is what you need to tick off. You've worked for a long time. What are your views around that?
It is a reality that, like you said, I mean, I've experienced it, you've experienced it, where you get that, you get that boss that no matter what you do, they just perceive you in a different light. Firstly, I would say to the people who are in that situation currently, as long as that person's your boss, try and find a way to at least reach them in term and allow yourself to be proactive.
Yep.
Because and you start driving your future and driving the
Nice.
conversation. What I mean by that,
Nice.
you schedule a one-on-one with them and
Yeah.
tell them that this is what you're currently going through, this is what you're
Yeah.
feeling, this is what you need.
Yeah.
And what advice can they give? How can they what are the projects or support that they can give you? What do they see is great in you? What are the areas that you need to improve on?
Sure.
And then once you have that conversation, please write it down.
Yeah.
Whatever you agree in that conversation, whatever feedback that you get,
Yeah.
write an email afterwards to say, you know what, Judith, if you were my boss, say, Judith, thank you. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
taking the time to hear me
Mm-hmm.
and telling me the areas that I need to improve on. And
Sure.
these are the actions and the timelines that we agreed upon. The
Yeah.
reason I say put it in writing and actually have it on email is because
Mm.
later on, you also get those bosses who get amnesia. Like, we never had this conversation. That's not what I
Absolutely.
promised. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And if
Yeah.
you write it down, if it does get to the point where it's really toxic and you need to get maybe HR involved, you
Yeah.
have a track record of the conversation that you had
That you
and what was
had.
agreed. And
Yeah.
then later on, if it's a case where having these conversations are quite confrontational, they're very negative,
Mm.
and your voice is not
Yeah.
allowed to be heard,
Yeah.
then if it's not HR, get somebody else in that room to facilitate that conversation, to be a witness, but
Mm-hmm.
also to be the one to translate what you're saying to your boss. So
Sure.
in that way, you're still being heard, you're still saying what you need to say.
Mm.
HR is aware about it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, and it's easier said than done, you have a choice.
Mm.
You have a choice when it's really, really bad to either move to a different department or move out of the organization, or and start
Absolutely.
making your exit plan
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's
and be
extremely
very clear
important.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important. I think creating an exit plan. So it's not
Yeah.
that's it, I'm out of here now. It's
No,
I have done everything I was supposed to do. I've done the meeting with
exactly.
you. I've had the
Yes.
conversation with HR, and it's just not working here. So therefore, in the next 1 month, that's when you start doing the job search and all of that, so that you need to
And
get out
you
of this
start an exit
space.
plan. And remember, whilst you're creating your exit plan, and please, I'm not encouraging everybody to start making an exit plan,
Leaving
but if
jobs,
you
yeah.
are in that particular situation,
Yeah,
remain professional.
yeah,
Remain professional, still do your job, still show up,
yeah,
bring your whole self to the organization and the task that your boss has given. And then as your exit plan is coming into place, when you
yeah.
leave in the professional life, because Judith, I have seen over and over again,
Oh yeah,
even now, that your network
yeah.
and how you still network with people that you worked with 10 years ago
Yeah.
is real, and you don't know where everybody lands.
Oh,
Everybody lands in
absolutely.
different places. So if
Absolutely.
you're not professional about it,
Yeah.
then you're cutting yourself off for future opportunities and future networking opportunities. So
Yeah.
always remain professional, but own your destiny, drive your
Yeah.
destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, listen, I totally feel that. So funny enough, my personal experience started off with the internship, the graduate recruitment program that I was in. And
Okay.
my manager then, line manager, laid a complaint to HR, not me, HR. So to your point, the beauty about what happened with me is I got to go through everybody, all the steps in the organization very quickly. So you go to HR and HR has got this issue with you and you explain yourself and then HR feels like, well, you're not taking me seriously. So I think the
Right.
beauty as of being an intern is the organization is around you. And the way our internship was structured is I have to speak to almost everyone. So HR
Yes.
felt that I wasn't listening and reported me to the CEO. So
Wow.
there's this young girl who's come out of university. This is her first job. It was my second rotation in an internship. I've gone through, well, the line manager, then now it's HR. Now I'm in the CEO's office. And I've never
Mm,
been so scared in my life where you're standing
right.
outside and this man, and then the manager is there and the HR manager is there and the next manager is there. So everybody's already in the room and you're kind of watching them from the outside
Yeah, yeah,
and you
exactly,
need to enter
exactly.
this space.
Yeah.
And everything you just said now. So everybody leaves and Judith walks in, but it's it's part of the conversation about knowing who you are. I do not
Yes.
understand where I get this weird strength from, but there I am. I'm like, I'm ready for this. Let's go have the conversation. Hello, Mr. CEO. And the first thing he does is tell me about yourself. As you said,
Yes.
tell me about yourself as a leader. Take time to understand who I am. Background, what
Yes.
did I study? What am I doing? What are my plans? I told this man, and we started having a very nice conversation, and he's just making notes. Then, he's like, the challenge there they were having is that there was a consistency problem. So
Mm.
one day you're amazing, and then one day, you are giving out work that's not great. So
Right.
my answer to that was, but nobody ever took a skill audit. So
Mm.
nobody ever spent time to say, Judith, what can you actually do?
Exactly.
Those things that I'm amazing at is because I've learned that, as I've come along this way, this journey.
Mm,
And
mm, mm.
this part, when I came into this company, you guys do things XYZ, but I wasn't
Right.
trained on that. So therefore,
Yes.
I'm really sorry that I'm not being consistent on that, but I wish my line manager had spent some time with me,
Right.
Yet again, spend time, have the conversation. But I'm also confident enough to say, this is what I'm good at. This is what they're saying I'm good at. This is what I think the problem is. So
Mm.
the most beautiful conversation happens. And trust me, I have a beautiful relationship with this man up until today. So from getting into
Brilliant.
trouble, HR, line manager, CEO, to being recognized actually in this company
Yeah.
for who I was, and we then created a skill plan, on
Right.
what Judith
Right.
needs to work on. But I did what you said. I went home. I'm not going to lie. I cried a lot of
Yeah.
tears.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boyfriend, then now husband. Lots of tears about this, and I am this, and I am not this, and I don't understand what's going on. So, that
Yeah.
whole perception is reality. My reality is gone
Yes.
now. The Judith that I
Yeah.
know, they're calling me arrogant. I'm not arrogant. I'm confident. So now it's a crisis that's going on, a personal crisis of who am I in this
Yeah.
workplace. But I do what you say. I say to the boss now, my line manager, like, listen, you've taken me this way. Could we
Hmm.
please have a conversation? Can I
Yes.
just
Yeah.
understand what's going on? And we do have a coffee, and this lady tells me her story. She felt that I wanted to be a manager, her position.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was like, yes, I do, but I'm young. I don't have the experience, I'm learning your way, so I'm following you
Mm.
around. And I'm
Mm.
sorry that you're
Mm.
feeling that you think that I want the job now.
Right.
But through that conversation, I got to understand what her problem was. And I got to get Judith back to say, so
Yes.
this is where the disconnect was. And honestly, we worked amazingly after that. And I had an amazing career in that same space, grew all the way to the top to the point I got tired and then I
Mm.
had to leave. So I really think your points are extremely key about leadership, taking time, talk to the leader, find some time for it. You're not always going to get a positive answer like me. I was in trouble half the time, but at least you're going through the journey and you're going through your own journey and your own self-discovery. So now
But
I
I
want to
also
ask,
go
yes,
ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. But
No, no, no,
I
you
just
go
I didn't
ahead.
want to lose your point of
Sure.
it is so important that a lot of people have disagreements or
Yeah,
perception between themselves and their boss.
yeah,
And what happens is when you don't, if you're waiting for if you're waiting for the boss to then sit down and talk to you, sometimes it won't happen. So
true.
you have to, and that's what I'm saying, you have to be proactive. And
Yeah,
sometimes you will actually find that, you know what, even your boss is going through something in their personal lives. You
yeah,
have no idea what somebody else is going
true.
through until you take
Absolutely.
the time to at least ask
Yeah,
and understand where can we meet in the middle. It might not be perfect and
absolutely.
I might not always get my way, but you know what, where can we meet in the middle? And it's
Yeah,
that open conversation one can't underestimate.
yeah. So let's touch on the womanhood now, being in the workplace and
Ah,
being your authentic self as a woman, since it's
okay.
Women's Month. So let me put a disclaimer out there. So Leah was my client, guys. She was this big executive that she described in the beginning. And the agency I worked for, I've also got an amazing leader from there. He used to like throwing me in the deep end. So he was just like, Leah is a great client, go and figure it out and close the deal. Okay. So we would work on this strategy, multiple country
Yes.
strategies, and
Yes.
I'll never forget
It was
the
amazing.
boardroom. It was amazing, but I'll never forget the boardrooms we walked in.
Yes.
Your exco that is full of men. I think
Yep.
that was Zambia. Zambia was the most scariest one, full of men. And I remember, the comments before the actual meeting, and the men would be like, oh, what does Leah want to tell us now? You know what I mean? Like, just what was going on in the room. And I remember watching you and just how well poised you were, in a sense that there were all these funny comments that were coming in
Yeah.
from men. And I thought to myself, I've seen my other female leaders where their masculinity almost comes out in this, So where you start
Right.
defending yourself and you're like, you
Yes.
can't
And
talk to
yeah,
me like
the
that and all of
egos
that.
go like
The
this. Yeah.
egos are
Yeah.
out. Like, how dare you talk to me like that? But I
Yeah.
watched you. I
Yeah.
watched you and you listened to these people and you literally just shrugged it off with a smile, with your poise, until it was time the chairman walks in and we presented and you got what you wanted. And my lesson from that was just, my God, this woman, you were not deterred by what was going on. You were not, you were focused. You came in there, it was exco, you had a plan, and you needed this plan signed off. And there were all these men making literally horrible comments, to be honest, because I just
Yeah.
sat there going,
Yeah.
wow. It was between
Yeah.
what are the women going to say? Why is Leah in
Yeah.
this room? And then there was Judith, the
Yes.
young one, like, what is this little one coming to tell us? We are exco.
Do you understand who we are? Yeah.
Listen, and then we did the same thing in Zim. I think it was now
Yes.
you're presenting
Yeah.
to the MD and
Yeah.
Botswana. Like,
Yeah.
everywhere we went, we were women in this room having to present to top people
Right.
and get buy-in into what we wanted. How did you do that? Like, who does Leah bring to the table? How do you have that composure where you're a woman in I want to say predominantly male space, because it really was a predominantly male space. How have you coped? What have you
Wow.
done? What is your strategy? How have you gotten yourself all the way to here?
Oh goodness. Thanks for the question. I think first and foremost, I think I got through it all because of my supportive structure.
Sure.
And when I say supportive structure, we talked about, yes, I have two amazing children who inspire me every day, but I also have an extremely supportive husband.
Yeah.
And we'll be celebrating 23 years of marriage in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And I'm also, so I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I'm also a daughter. A
Sure.
daughter who is still guided by the many lessons that my late dad taught me and
Yeah.
guided me on. And when I worked with my dad, he was tough.
Yeah.
We would debate like mad, and he would throw me in the deep end in meetings, and I had to stand my ground and I had to use my voice. So
Yeah.
I still, so he was a great foundation for me, and grooming me before I got into the corporate world. And
Sure.
even today, it's still my mom. My
Yeah.
mom, I play the multiple roles that I play as a
Yeah.
woman, as a wife, as a career
Yeah.
woman, because of my
Yeah.
mother. She
Yeah.
guides me, she gives me the advice, and quite frankly, she's my North Star. And
Nice.
because I had such a solid home foundation, and my father, first and foremost, is the one that told me I could do anything and be
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And I not only went to school in the States, but I also went to boarding school at the age of 7.
Yeah.
So I've always lived away from home. So that independence I got from a very young age,
Age.
and being told by my father that your voice is equal to mine,
Yeah.
especially when we were working together,
Yeah.
allowed me to then go into the different boardrooms in the BPs, Barclays, Norbank, etc., and say, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And it's about my proven track record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, you don't have to like me.
Mm.
I don't, when I'm in organizations, I love the brands that I have worked for, the teams that I've
Sure.
worked with, and the people that have
Sure.
led me. But I
Yeah.
never go in there saying, my gosh, I hope my boss likes me. No,
Yeah.
I aim to earn their respect, and let
Absolutely.
them respect me based on the work that we're doing
What you're
together.
doing.
I've been
Yeah.
fortunate, like in a lot of situations where the friendship, strong friendships have developed, just like you with your previous CEO. And
Yeah.
that comes with time.
Yeah.
But my objective is to allow my work to speak for itself. And that's why I stay
Absolutely.
composed, because preparation before meetings,
Mm.
especially when you're dealing with a room full of men. I remember
Yeah.
one of my last meetings at Norbank, we
Yeah.
were 16 people in the room. I was the only woman.
Wow.
And I remember the one of the CEOs, a CEO from a bank that's acquiring Norbank now, said to me, "Ah, maybe there's a number I would like. There's some agency numbers I would like, and I'm sure you don't have them. Maybe after the meeting, you can just send them to me." And in
Wow.
front of all those 15 men, I said, "Actually,
Wow.
sir, I have the numbers right in my head
Oh,
right
right
now."
here.
And
Oh.
I put all the numbers out there. And my ask of anybody in any workplace,
Yeah.
be prepared. Be
Absolutely.
prepared. Know your numbers.
Absolutely.
Know your objectives. Understand the vision, and
Yeah.
show up.
Yeah.
And as long as
Yeah.
you're prepared in that room, no matter what is thrown at you,
Yeah.
even role play before the meeting, especially
Yeah.
if it's these big boardroom. I mean, remember Judith and I mean, remember we
Mm.
role played, we went through every
Whew.
scenario that they could possibly throw at
They can
us.
throw at
And the
us.
reason, yeah, and the reason that we survived, the reason that we survived is because we prepared.
No,
We
we
knew our
prepared.
numbers. We knew what we wanted to do. And I think
Absolutely.
some people let themselves down
Yeah.
because lack of preparation.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
prepared, know your numbers, and then
Yeah.
show up. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I think that's what made us similar. It's funny, my sister put a quote out that I apparently said in 2016, and it's about that. Let your work speak for you. I'm exactly like you.
Yes,
I work into the workplace. If you want to call me to a KPI meeting, it
yeah,
better be about my KPIs. Don't start telling me
yes.
about so and so said XYZ about you. I'm like,
Oh
sorry,
no,
sorry. Is the client happy with what I need to do? And like you, I have worked in a male-dominated industry. So and,
yes, yeah,
and yours could be maybe once in a while that you're in a boardroom. For me, it was almost every single day.
yeah,
It's been with
exactly,
males.
exactly,
But
yeah.
yet again, I showed up. It's been about this is Judith. This is what she's good at. This is the brief you've given me. And as you said, over prepare. I literally over prepare.
Over
I can
prepare,
remember
scenario plan.
scenario planning, speak to everyone in the organization.
Yeah,
Never, 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 never just make friends with one person. I think that's one of the things that I also learned along the way,
yes,
especially for those toxic people. Work with other departments, go to lunch with other departments, let other people get to know who you are so that when people are attacking the person that you are, somebody else can attest to say, no, that's not true,
and
actually, because,
that's such a good piece of advice, because
yeah,
especially when you're not in the room,
yeah,
as long as you're
exactly.
networking with so for example, even if I'm dealing predominantly with the retail guys, allow somebody in corporate to understand
Yeah,
who I am, allow
that's it.
somebody in treasury to know who
That's
I
it.
am. So
That's
if
it.
I'm not in that particular meeting, somebody else speaks
Else.
on my behalf and can vouch and
Absolutely.
credit, like, you know what, I
Absolutely.
think you have the wrong perception about Leah. She's actually like this. And
Like
when
this
I
and like
have
that.
worked with her, she has been able to deliver this. And all of a sudden, there isn't one lonely voice putting you down. All of a sudden, they become defensive, like, oh no, maybe I was
Yeah.
mistaken. So
Yeah.
network within the
Yeah.
organization that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I've got a question. I think it's Mundi that asked, how do I approach the conversation of promotion where men seem to move ahead compared to women?
It's it's a reality that a lot of us face.
Yeah.
And it's a great question, Wendy. Thank you so much. I think my advice would be, still have the conversations with HR and your line manager,
Yeah.
and understand, for example, what is the role that you're looking to be promoted to?
Yeah.
What are the skills needed for
The
that role,
skills.
all the competencies needed for that role, and
Yeah.
understand and
Yeah.
basically score yourself against them. And if there are gaps, identify them and just say, you know what, heads up. I understand I have a gap here, and allow me to use the next 6 months or year to close the gap. If there are no gaps, still within that conversation with HR and your line manager or the hiring line manager, just say, look, I have outlined and have gone through all the requirements here. I don't see where my gap is. So please help me understand what else I'm lacking. And again, I say to you, put it in writing, because the next time an opportunity comes up and they'll say, but you had to improve on this. Okay, I've improved on it. Here is proof of how I've improved on it. Where's the problem exactly? So you actually start tracking and keeping evidence of your performance in order to progress and hopefully get the next promotion. It's not an easy journey, but my advice to you is you don't give up. You don't give up.
Yeah. No, I think it goes back to what you just said about being prepared. You cannot, it's so funny. I used to say to my team before we do performance appraisals, oh, you better be prepared. In a sense that go check what the KPIs were. Please, very important in the workplace, portfolio of evidence. Can never say that like 20 million times. Portfolio of evidence. Every time you do something great, write it down. Every time, as you're saying, your boss says something amazing, write it down. Every time a client or somebody that you presented to said, wow, that was really good, write it down. So that when
and
you
archive that email.
Archive the email, and people used to be like, oh, you're making it sound like you're going to war. I'm like, you are going to war.
You are going to war.
This is about promotions. And your manager is not just managing you. I mean, you've highlighted that you've worked with hundreds of people at exactly the same time. I have to remember what John did and what Dorothy did and this one did at exactly, so if you come to your performance appraisal prepared, when we start talking about skill A and you're like, oh, but hold on, I've got a bit of proof here, like there's an email from a client who said I actually did XYZ on this. You know what I mean? As a boss, I start going, oh, look at you, You might get those that are going to be like, look at you, over prepared. It's not about them, as you said, it's about you. So you walk into that room 100% prepared. And I'm having this conversation whether you're male or female, because the good thing about us is we've led both males and females. And you are right, and the question is very right. I found that the males in my team will come in and say, it's time for a promotion. I have done great work, and I think I need a 15% increase. There's a part of me that used to be like so arrogant, but the women didn't. So he did.
Because the thing is, but women, and unfortunate with us, because we're known to be very nice, and remember, we're polite, and we'll wait our turn, and hopefully someone
and they'll
will recognize
notice me. Exactly.
They'll notice me.
They know the great work I'm doing.
People are busy. Leaders are busy. And you remember the last person that came into your room, right? The last person that showed you how amazing they were. So that's why you have to find your voice. You have to be noticed. And it's okay to promote yourself.
That's it.
And sometimes it is uncomfortable. I still like, oh my gosh, this is too much. But unless you promote yourself,
absolutely,
who else is going to do it for you? People are busy.
Absolutely. No, you're right. And again, I think it goes back to our education. I don't think we're taught. I think we're taught to be workers. I learned this very quickly. And it helps when you work in multiple countries. So I only figured this out when I was in Nigeria, because Nigeria was another, like literally my world was twisted upside down, when it comes to their work ethic and how they work. And you've worked in Kenya. As you said, when we were on those planes going to Zambia, we needed to know the room and the people that are actually going to be in this room. But I found that from everything I got taught here in South Africa, I was taught to be a worker. I was taught to, as you're saying, humble yourself, walk in, and these are the things that you need to do. Nigeria flipped that. So when I came back, I was just like, yo, I'm owning my own script. When I was being offered a job, it was like, yeah, sure, but I'm looking for this title and I'm looking for this money. Is it something that we can do? Judith, why do you think you can do that? Yet again, be prepared. Portfolio of evidence, sir, right here. This is what I have been able to do for all these years, and this is what, you know what I mean? So it's all about, it's not bragging. It's not
It's
bragging.
not bragging.
We've been
It's not
taught
bragging.
some weird back way of that you
Yes.
can't promote yourself, you can't toot your own horns, and it's those people that are in your organization that are going up. It's always the loud
Yeah.
ones that are tooting their own
Yeah.
horns, and you're
Yeah.
sitting in your corner there thinking, people are going to
Someone will
recognize
remember
me.
that I'm there. Yeah. Someone
Somebody
will remember
remember
I'm
that I
there.
was there.
No, no,
No,
we're just too busy. We're too busy for
no,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
As you said, I'm a
Yeah.
leader. I've got a couple of people that I need to deal with. You're not the one
Yeah.
person. I've also got KPIs. I've also got bosses above me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we all bringing a lot of stuff into the workplace. We all bringing our different selves into the workplace. And I think
Yeah.
it's extremely important that we all need to understand that. So I absolutely love your preparedness. I think for me, that's extremely important.
No,
Prepare,
absolutely.
prepare, prepare.
Prepare.
Um,
Yeah.
and is this a question? I think it's a comment. Exactly as women were so modest. Yep, there we go. And let up
Yeah.
being the forgotten plant in the room. True. Let us teach our
Love
upcoming
it.
young female professionals that it is okay to promote. Yes, please promote yourself. I promise
Yes.
you, walk into a room and
Yes.
say, hi, my name is and I am XYZ. Get to know who you are and what your strengths are. As you
Yeah.
said, somebody's going to define that value for you, but somebody's also, the toxic one, is going to define
Yes.
your failure, which can then
Yeah.
lead to all this depression and, the questioning of yourself. So
Agreed.
I think we've kind of covered almost everything. My other question was going to be, in this 20 years experience with the people that you've led, you
Yeah.
working up and all of that, what do you
Yeah.
think is the barrier of people bringing themselves? What are the barriers? What stops people? So as you said, come to a meeting and tell your leader about, who you really are. What do you think
I
of?
think like you said, I think we've covered a lot of them. The other point I might add is that one of the barriers is, and the reality is for all of us at some point of our lives, is that
Yeah.
you're eager to please, or you're eager to fit in.
Yeah.
So your boss might have a different value
Yeah.
to you. The team dynamics might be very different to how
Yeah.
your personal values. But you know what? I need this job right now. So in
Yeah.
order for me to fit in, and
Yeah.
for people to know me and recognize me, my
Yeah.
particular values become secondary, and my
Yeah.
boss and the team's values and dynamics become
Yeah.
primary. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I start losing a bit of who I am.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about before, culture of that organization. Some people have a very
Mm.
close culture, and it's very
Yeah.
much top down. And quite frankly,
True.
I don't want to hear what your opinion is.
Yeah.
And I
Just
know
get
you
the
have
job
all
done.
these great ideas, and you're new, you're a
Yeah.
millennial.
Yeah.
Hello, we've been doing it like this for like the last 10 years. So what are you going to tell me, kind of thing?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if the culture is always telling you no, no, no,
Yeah.
eventually you start hitting that barrier and say, I give up.
Yeah.
Let me just go with the
Yeah.
status quo until I get the
Yeah.
next best thing.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of thing. And some people, quite frankly, just don't want to change. Your
Yeah.
boss has been doing it the same way for
The
all
same
this time,
way.
and they've been in the role for the last 10 years, and they're threatened that you might also want to take their role. So you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to do things my way, and if you like it, stay. If you don't, go. So you then start giving up who you
Yeah.
are, just again, to survive. And that's a
That's it.
reality that all of us have
That's
gone
it.
through at some point or in time.
That's it. But I also think the first barrier starts in your interviews. I think, as you're saying, we take on a persona. So yes,
Yes.
unemployment is rife, guys. We get it. Trust me. Yeah, I remember how I had to get my first job. It's been a hustle. Unemployment is really, really high. And I always say, if there's a job that you're applying for, obviously they've got a couple of things that they need you to tick, 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 tick. But bring yourself into that interview. So the KPI conversations start from there. If you're a person, like the question you're asking about promotions, if you're a person that wants to climb up like really high, you're already asking that question in an interview. Sorry, so how long does it take for me to grow from position A to position B? I asked
Right.
those questions, and trust me, I walked into organizations that were like, it takes 2 years to move to the next level. I was up in 3 months because I'd be
Yeah.
like, KPIs exceeded.
Yeah.
What's
What's
happening?
the
Why do I
problem?
why do I need 2 years to be in this
What is the
position?
conversation?
What's happening? Can we move up? But bring yourself in the beginning, because I think the problem
Yeah.
is you start from the interview. That's the first barrier. of, as you say, taking on other people's values and all of that. Then you get into the organization and you're trying to be something that you're actually not. Then you figure out who you are. Now you
Yeah.
want to start having the conversation and people are looking at you like, you need to sit down. What are you talking about? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So
You knew
I
what you
think
was getting into.
you
Yeah.
knew what you were getting yourself
Yeah.
into. What do you mean we're not paying you enough? But like you signed on the
Yes.
salary. Like what's going
Right.
on here?
Right.
So I think
Right.
it goes back into your word. I think for me the biggest word today has been preparedness.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself.
Prepare.
Prepare yourself for the interview. I think people that
Prepare
know
yourself.
me, they know I'm crazy. Like if we come to the workplace, Judith doesn't wear her shoes. I'll say that in an interview. Like, listen, I love shoes. They're amazing. I've got lots of them. But when I'm really in my creative mode, those that know me knows I throw them out and I stop working. That's
Right.
Judith.
Right.
And you're
Yeah.
gonna find that Judith everywhere. Whether she's sitting in a boardroom or whatever, that's the girl you're
Yeah.
gonna get. Are you judging me because I don't have my shoes, or are you judging my work? So I think we've covered
Right.
preparedness, as you said.
Yes.
We've spoken about my work speaking for me,
Mm-hmm.
extremely important. We've highlighted your portfolio of evidence. Nobody else is
Yeah.
compiling
Track it.
the document for
Track
you.
it.
Track
Track
it.
it. Track it.
Do it yourself. Every
Right.
time you hit a KPI, every time you hit an amazing new skill, every time somebody says something amazing, whether it's your boss or not, track it,
Right.
and be able to have
Right.
a file at the end of either your career or a job to say,
Yep.
hello,
Absolutely.
this
Absolutely.
is where we
Yeah.
need to be. So yeah, I've got Kim asking, have you recorded the session? Are you going to share so that we can reflect? Yes, I think we'll be able to save this after this, so you'll be able to come
Great.
onto our platform and you'll be able to watch it at your own time as well. I've got Nenani. There we go. Your husband. Be unapologetically ambitious. Own your voice and own your journey. Absolutely. I think today
Absolutely.
this word came to
Absolutely.
me all the time. Ambition,
Yeah.
ambition, ambition. Please have an
Yes.
ambition.
Have an
If you're those
ambition.
people that want to grow, have an ambition. But and then Adam says it's believing in your craft and being able to back it up. Absolutely.
Yes.
Um,
Totally agree.
you
Totally agree.
totally, it's your journey. You gotta love your craft and you gotta back it up. Nobody else is going to do it for
But
you. Your
I
leaders,
love what he said. I mean, especially with the thing of back it up. Your
yeah,
track record is everything. So
yeah,
don't complain.
absolutely.
Don't say my boss doesn't like me. They're not paying me enough.
There we go.
Like Adam says,
Yeah.
can you back it up? And if you
Can you
can
back it
back
up?
it up, then you know
Yep.
what? Show up and stand for what you're owed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As I said, I've had a lot of males who just come in and say they demand it. I
Yeah.
think for Women's Month is, I've got Virginia who says, find your
Mm-hmm.
voice. It's okay to promote yourself. Absolutely. That is a skill
Absolutely.
that we need to teach young women when they come into a space. Don't cower. I've seen it. Like you walk into a room and you're already, everything is like kind of like, oh my God, I'm scared. And everybody's going to do this to me. You just said it yourself, preparedness. Even with all
Preparedness.
our years of experience, we walked into those boardrooms and we were like, yes.
No,
You
and
always
also
get the
and you know
jitters.
it, and it's a practical thing. It's a practical thing of when you are in these spaces. For example, when obviously now with COVID-19, people are on
Yeah,
Zoom calls and all that kind of stuff. Give your
yeah,
opinion. As women, sometimes
yes,
we're too modest, like the lady said,
yeah,
and we go quiet. In
yeah,
pre-COVID-19, when you would go into those meeting rooms, where do some of the women sit? We start at the back. And all the men are right in front next to the CEO. You know what I mean? And we're like at the back, and maybe we can possibly see. No, own it. Walk
no,
in there
no,
with confidence.
no,
Be on that Zoom call
yeah,
with confidence, and especially if you're
that's
prepared,
it,
give your opinion. Give your
that's
opinion.
it. That's it. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? That's what I do.
What's the
As you
worst
said,
thing? Yeah,
preparedness is also always think, what's the worst thing that's going to
yeah.
happen?
What's the worst
There
thing that
is
can happen?
sometimes
Yeah,
a yes or a no. If you expecting the no, who cares? The no came through,
yeah.
and okay, we've got a question, Ninani.
Right.
How did you handle being a Black African Christian woman in an? Yeah, no, that's a very good question. Your current, the recent job in an Islam male-dominated environment that you find yourself in.
Thanks for the question. Firstly, but you know what like you said, it started from the interview. In the interview, they were
Yeah.
very clear to say, like, this is as an Islamic bank, and
Yeah.
as a woman, we expect you to dress conservatively, and that meant all your dresses are below your knee, or your skirts
Okay.
below your knee, and then you cover your
Wow.
arms.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, that's got rid of half my wardrobe. But you know what? I couldn't do it. I mean, I just, I wasn't going to lose my whole identity by completely, wearing the hijab and stuff. But the fact that I
Sure.
had to dress conservatively, I knew what I was committing to. And because
Yeah.
they were on such a growth journey,
Yeah.
and of this transformation, just adjusting the way I dress and just to be dressed more conservatively, I made the decision, like, you know what, I can do this. And
Yeah.
obviously there are always perceptions about, oh my gosh, how are Emiratis, and how are you going to deal when they all go for prayers and all that kind of stuff. You know
Yeah.
what? It was okay, because if you go in with an open mind, you're not looking at the differences of our culture. You're looking at what actually brings us together, and you start celebrating and learning from each other. And you know what?
Nice.
They are as celebrate family as much as I do, and that's a key value of mine. They celebrate each other. There's so many commonalities between being a Christian and a Muslim person, that's what
Yeah.
we celebrated, and we didn't think about what separated us. And once you go into
Nice.
that growth mindset, and it has to be a
Nice.
growth mindset, you will then
Mm-hmm.
find a way to work. And you know what? It's about building a brand and making a difference within the role that I had.
That you have. No, I
Yeah,
absolutely love that. As you said,
yeah,
from the interview, you know what the job expects of you.
yeah,
You know you have to dress up XYZ. Let's not have uncomfortable conversations 3 months, 4 months down the line about
yeah,
I'm
exactly. I'm
uncomfortable now. You know
shocked
what I
that I
mean?
can't,
Because
that I can't show my arms. It's like,
the
hello, we told you that
what's
in the interview.
happening? Exactly. This is the be
Just be
prepared
real.
from the
Yeah,
interview.
yeah,
Just be real.
yeah.
And I think for me as well, dressing up like that does not take away from what we still said. Your work speaks for you. Do you know what I
The work
mean?
speaks
So
for you.
whether I
Yeah,
am wearing pants or whether I'm wearing, a skirt or I'm fully dressed, I can still deliver XYZ. Thank you very
yeah,
much. This is what I'm good at and all of that.
exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah,
It was.
so Instagram is counting us down. We've got about
Okay,
1 minute and 40 seconds left. Let me see. I've got
okay. Wow, it's gone
Nadine
quickly.
who says, I know, Nadine says, stand for your worth, and be
Yes,
ethical, to do the right thing always. We need to stand up and show true power in truth, to show power in the quality of work
love
and
it.
being that critical pository absolutely role. Absolutely agree.
Yes, yeah,
Adam says, amen. Research that builds strong confidence. Information is power. Information is
yes.
extremely
Totally agree.
important. So what's your parting shot?
My
Being
parting shot. So
yourself and
anybody,
growing.
yeah, and anybody who watches my LMB coaching videos, I always like to leave with 3 actions. And I think the
Yeah.
three I'd like to leave today is, number one, I think we've talked about it. Know yourself and know your
Yep.
worth and know where you want to
Yep.
go. Create a career
Yeah.
roadmap of where you want to
That's
go,
it.
and find a mentor or coach if you need navigation through
Very
the maze.
important.
Secondly, find your voice and use your voice to empower, to teach others, and to make a difference within your space. And lastly, all of us go through challenges. All of us go through failure.
Absolutely.
Use each experience as a learning opportunity and grow from it. And those are my last
Absolutely.
words. And thank you for this great opportunity. And thank you for all your questions
And
and your
thank you.
comments. It was amazing.
Absolutely. No, this was amazing. Thank you for taking the time, guys. Thank you for joining. As I said, we'll get the video to be available after this as well. And yeah, just be yourself. I think Leah and I, trust me, people that know us, we are ourselves completely.
So be
You've got
yourself,
nothing to
prepare,
be
know
yourself.
your voice, know your